Next on the Broadway show, it's the opening night of Once Upon a Mattress, and we're on the red carpet with the stars. Plus, I'm hanging out with the star of The Great Gatsby, Jeremy Jordan.
Isn't it grand? Isn't it great? Isn't it swell?
And an exclusive musical performance from the stars of Chicago, Ariana Madix and Robin Herder. I'm Tamsin Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show.
The Broadway Show's back with another good one. I'm Tamsin Fidel, so let's get started.
Once Upon a Mattress is back on Broadway and just celebrated opening night at the Hudson Theater. The revival starring Sutton Foster, Michael Urie, and so many more. We hit the red carpet with the stars.
It's such an awesome show. It's so fun and silly, and we're having such a great time. And the company's so amazing. A bunch of veterans, but a bunch of people, we've been around for a long time and kind of all coming together and not taking anything for granted and just trying to appreciate it and make each other laugh along the way. And it's just pure silliness for 2.5 hours, and like audiences just being ready for that and wanting it. So that's been really amazing.
Sutton in this role is so perfect, and it's so new. What she's doing is not like what Carol did, but of course it pays homage to what Carol did. It's not like what Sarah Jessica Parker did, but it pays. It honors all the Freds of the past, including all the Freds out there. I think that this is probably the most done show in schools, camps, community theaters, churches, all that stuff. And I feel like what we're doing and what this whole company, the production, all of us on stage, we want to honor all of those productions.
The hardest part is coming from backstage on stage because you're already laughing and you have to be somewhat serious business. So it's such a joy. Everyone's so great. And
it's my dream. I mean, as a director, I'm always trying to invite the audience into joy and into community. And this show is there is no show without the audience. It is for them. This show was originally created basically at a summer camp by friends who were just cracking each other up. And that is sort of the spirit we have very intentionally maintained, that it's like, it still is that. It's like out of the love and out of all these people kind of playing together that the magic happens.
If you like large parties, A Great Gatsby is on Broadway, the brand new musical based on the iconic novel by F. Scott Fitzgerald. I caught up with Jay Gatsby himself, Jeremy Jordan.
Daisy, my waiting is through. If you bring her to me, I'll be indebted to you.
How are you feeling about everything at this point?
It's exciting. I mean, I stepped foot on the stage for the first time yesterday and sang again on a Broadway stage. It's been a really long time for me since I've sung on a Broadway stage, and it's been a long time since I've done an original show on Broadway. So it still feels great every time. It's exciting.
What is it like to be back on a stage? It has been a little bit of time for you. Is it a whole different learning curve for your brain or for your body or for what?
I don't know. We're gonna find that out. But doing the 8 shows a week for a long period of time, it's been a minute since I've done that. As I get a little bit older, I'm always looking for ways to not hurt myself. Before, when I was younger, I was throw it all out there, and you wake up the next morning like, yeah, I'm fine. Doesn't happen like that anymore.
Now you understand what 8 shows a week means.
I know, exactly. I'm like,
it's a little different.
I used to think that was not that big of a deal, but and then I had a child that wakes me up early in the morning every day after getting home at 11 plus at night. So
you've done a lot of period pieces. I mean, this is one though that written over 100 years ago, and we're talking about some big Hollywood heavyweights that have been in this role before. So what do you want to bring to? What do you want to bring to this one?
Yeah, I mean,
you're creating your own heavyweight.
Yeah,
here.
First of all, I've stuck really to the book.
Good.
I don't know that I've ever seen the Robert Redford version, and I know that I saw the DiCaprio version many years ago, but the thing that I've learned about myself, and I think a lot of people, is that when you see somebody else do an interpretation of the same character or the same work, it's just always there in the back of your mind, and it's harder to really make that fully your own. So there's a couple things that I say in the show that I've heard DiCaprio say, and it's still really hard for me to like get his version of that like iconic line out of my head. And so like I try to remove myself from that and sort of create Gatsby from scratch in our own way. And the book is told from a single perspective, which is one of the characters, the character of Nick. And so he really only can guess at the motivations of the other characters and, you know, their inner workings. And so that's where we get to kind of play and make discoveries and decide new things. My Gatsby, at least, my sort of first question was like, what kind of person would literally go to the ends of the earth and somehow become the richest person in Long Island over the course of a very short period of time just because he wants to get a girl? Like, that kind of person is not the most stable human being. You know, they're not the most rational of thinkers. He's a little bit neurotic. He's like a little bit, you know, of a control freak. And I think that ultimately ends up being his downfall. But it's really fun to kind of attack it from like, how does someone like that get to be this way? And that's kind of where I started. And what's really cool is that because it's a musical, we have all these different styles at our disposal. So the music and the choreography, and to a maybe slightly lesser degree, the sets and design, really bring in elements of modern sort of 2024 while still telling a story that's set back in 1922. And so we try to bridge the gap a little bit, so it's not like you're watching something through a time capsule. It feels relatable, but it's also still, you know, giving you the real story.
Welcome back to the Moulin Rouge. Tony winner Aaron Tveit and pop star JoJo are back in the starring roles in Moulin Rouge, the musical, for the next couple of months.
This is a dream come true for me because I love theater. I love pop music. I'm singing from a totally different part of myself, and I'm learning. Like, this is an opportunity for me to take the stuff I've been studying with my vocal teacher put it into practice. I literally won't survive unless I learn to sing from a healthier place. That's what musical theater makes you do. Like, you can't push too hard. You need to sing from a healthy place. It's about blending. It's about, you know, sounding good with your scene partner. And so it's not just like, when you're in the recording studio, you can blow your voice out, you can put vocal fry on it, you can not breathe how you need to. You can't do that here.
A lot of shows you work on don't achieve this kind of success, and so to have something that you're so tied to and that you created and that you have has such a close place in your heart, to be able to go back in, I mean, that's a dream come true. So when I left last year, I always had the intention to be able to come back at some point, and when they asked if I wanted to come now, I said absolutely. So here we are.
Just a couple of weeks left to catch TV star Ariana Madix in Chicago on Broadway. She's starring as Roxy Hart, alongside Tony nominee Robin Herder as Velma Kelly.
Here's an exclusive musical performance from the Broadway.com studio.
It's good, isn't it grand? Isn't it great? Isn't it swell? Isn't it fun? Isn't it? Nowadays, there's men everywhere, jazz everywhere, booze everywhere, life everywhere, joy everywhere. Nowadays, you can like the life you're living. You can live the life you like. You can even marry Harry, but mess around with Ike, and that's good. Isn't it grand? Isn't it great? Isn't it swell? Isn't it fun? Isn't it? But nothing stays. In 50 years or so, It's gonna change, you know. But oh, it's heaven nowadays. And that's good, isn't it grand? Isn't it great? Isn't it swell? Isn't it fun? Isn't it? But nothing stays. In 50 years or so, it's gonna change, you know. But oh, it's heaven nowadays.
Hi, my name is Jonathan Groff, and you're watching The Broadway Show.
Roads, where we're going, we don't need roads. Back to the Future, the musical, is on Broadway this summer. Let's send it out to Paul Wontorek.
Thanks, Tamsin. I'm at Citizen M Hotel, high above Back to the Future, talking to Roger Bart, who has taken on the iconic role of Doc Brown. Roger, good to see you.
Nice to see you.
Look at you back on Broadway in another big musical, big Broadway musical.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be at the Winter Garden, which is like the prime palace of Broadway? How's it feeling? How's life?
Life is fantastic, you know, and I love being back here. I love being back in New York. I had the great privilege of playing on the West End for the last couple of years, and to be back here, and it feels like at the right time. I feel like people really sort of been going to the theater, getting more excited about going to the theater, more the safe feeling about it, more excited about coming to New York and spending a weekend here with their family. So I think this show is the right show at the right time for theater lovers.
I saw it last night, loved it, fantastic, had a great time. But what I loved about it was how many people, regular people, you could just tell it was one of those shows that when families heard that this was coming to Broadway, it was like, we're getting tickets to that. There's just certain titles that people get really excited about.
Yeah, you know, Back to the Future, as I became more and more familiar with it over these years working on it, I underestimated its huge appeal, and it's the way it is as famous as if we were to do a Star Wars musical or E.T. the musical, and most Spielberg giant ventures. It's of that epic size, you know. So it is not an unusual night for me to look out in the audience and see three people dressed as Doc Brown with ridiculous wigs. You know, I've heard many times that the guy, a typical fella somewhere, will say, you know, I don't really like musicals, but that one I'm kind of curious about, and I love that we're part of that.
But Back to the Future has a great human story under it all.
It does.
I mean, it is sort of based in sci-fi and time travel and all these sort of big ideas, but it actually is just a beautiful human story about family and friendship and love, and it's just lovely.
It really is. The show is kind of constructed like it bookended and interspersed with a lot of very cool technology.
Yeah.
That is
very cool,
state of the art. I mean,
Yes.
really, really very cool. And in the middle of it is an old-fashioned 1955 story. And of course, what's interesting for us is that, you know, Marty and I have this motor of we only have this amount of time, and it's life or death.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, we're around a world that has no idea. They're just sort of a day in the life in 1955 of a kid who's obsessed with a girl and would love nothing more than to spend the rest of his life with her.
I also think it really works because the movie, when you think back, so many of the performances were so big and theatrical, like Crispin Glover and Christopher Lloyd, obviously, is Doc Brown. You're not tasked with giving us Christopher Lloyd.
Right.
But I feel like I got to see such a beautiful, different characterization of this sort of mad scientist guy that we all loved in the 80s.
The only thing that I tried to adhere to, which was the great leg up from Christopher Lloyd, was Chris has that kind of unique ability to be able to be both charming and also make an audience feel like anything can happen. He could do anything to surprise you. He's going to do something crazy, and those are things that I love. You know, I love to be both a little subversive on stage with the audience, and also create a feeling of controlled chaos.
Let's hear it for the dreamers who never stop believing. One grain of sand becomes a pearl. A great idea can change the world. They can see what others don't, try things others won't. So this one's for the dreamers.
You do get a sweet ballad. I mean, you kind of really get to do it all.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
I do. I sing that for. That song runs very deep for me. You know, anybody my age, who has walked in the parade of life has certainly watched it thin as you look around. You know, and there are many of those in my life that I was very close to that I've lost and the world lost, and all of whom had very big dreams, and to some degree or another saw them through or didn't. You know, we all just try to get on with it and have fun and live to our and dream our biggest adventures can come true. And so I'm sure I'm having a hard time speaking now because it's some of it is very painful for me still. So as it is every night. So
this one's for the dreamers. Like me.
Wicked is one of Broadway's longest-running musicals, and decades later, the costumes remain iconic. Tony Award-winning, in fact. Here's Beth Stevens with another edition of Building Broadway.
Thanks, Tamsin. I'm here at the Gershwin Theater to check in with Wicked's Tony-winning costume designer, Susan Hilferty. 20 years later, here we are. Wicked is still running and still a sold-out show. How has Wicked changed your life?
You know, I always say that Wicked came to me at exactly the right moment in my career, meaning that the kinds of designs that I created for Wicked 5 years before, I wouldn't have necessarily had the power or strength to have imagined those. And later it would have been something else. So I think the way, for me, Wicked changed my life is it gave me the opportunity at exactly the right moment to move into a kind of storytelling that I love to do.
So here we are in the Elphaba dressing room. So let's see the costume we're all thinking about, which is Elphaba's black.
We call her the Wicked Witch at the moment that she becomes the Wicked Witch dress.
The Wicked Witch dress.
Yes. The idea was really always having a comparison between Elphaba and Glinda. Elphaba's from the earth and Glinda's from the sky. There's beads that have been added, all the different fabrics. It is weighty and it feels like it's from the earth. You can see how many different colors we included in the making of the skirt. But if you look inside, it's all clean so that it doesn't catch anything. So it's really all clean on the inside.
So now we're in Glinda's dressing room, and this dress is literally off the floor. So we're thinking about something a lot lighter and airier than Elphaba.
Exactly. The truth is, because it's got so many sequins on it, it's actually quite heavy. And if you lift it up and just see how many layers there are in terms of the petticoat layers, it goes on and on. So it takes a lot of structure to make it feel like it's just got a lot of air going on. Every sequin is sewn on by hand. If you're a fashionista, you definitely see the Dior influence from the Dior dresses. So that was important for me, that everybody know that Glinda shops from the Dior of Oz.
This is a Broadway show. We're back in just a few.
Hi, Broadway.com. My name is Mary Kate Morrissey, but everyone just calls me MK. I play Elphaba on Broadway, and I'm so excited to be your next Broadway.com vlogger. So follow me for the next 8 weeks, and I'll show you a little bit of everything that makes it positively emerald to work at Wicked the Musical.
Well, that's going to do it for us. But for tickets, or if you want to check out extended cuts of all these interviews, you can head over to Broadway.com. I'm Tamsen Fidel, and this is The Broadway Show.